Channel 6 News at 6:30.
Now at 6:30, it's been talked about, argued over, debated and discussed, but tomorrow gay marriage will be legal in Massachusetts. Good evening, I'm Beth Wenger. This is what many same-sex couples have been waiting for, including two women from Pittsfield. Joe Gambino joins us live now with their story.
Beth, late last year, the top court in Massachusetts said gay couples have the right. On Friday, the U.S. Supreme Court refused to overturn that ruling. Now Julie and Patty Rhodes say it's time.
People are thinking that we're doing. But we're not. We're here. We're just regular people, and we're just trying to love each other.
Patty Rhodes says there's nothing profound here. As humans, we all want to be happy. Together, Patty and her partner, Julie, say they are happy, so they're getting married.
There's no doubt we're going to go right down there and get our marriage license and be part of this.
Which they say right now is the only thing that's missing. The 30-year-old Pittsfield women live together, work together. They even changed their last name to Rhodes, which they now share.
And we're going to do a legal marriage, so that we can get that piece of paper so we do have the same rights as everybody else.
You can't say that one human is allowed certain rights but another human isn't. I mean, I just feel that way. It's all or nothing.
Cake, I like the ones of us cutting the cake.
The two Bay Staters say in a way they've already tied the knot.
It was all about family and celebration and love.
A civil union late last year, and they say even though their marriage may be perceived as different, it isn't. Julie and Patty say their walk to the clerk's office will be no different than any other married couples. They've already had their ceremony, now they're making it legal.
It's the same thing, we just happen to be doing it 6 months later.
Julie says it took the state this long to recognize gay marriage. They were ready a long time ago. Cambridge City Hall is expected to open just after midnight to start handing out marriage applications. Patty and Julie say they're not in that much of a rush. They plan to get married near home. In the newsroom, Joe Gambino, Channel 6 News.
With the first gay weddings already planned, we take you behind the headlines now for more on the process. First of all, while the first same-sex marriages could take place tomorrow, it's not that simple. Tomorrow is the first day city and town clerks will be allowed to accept notice of intention of marriage forms from gay couples. Normally, there's still a 3-day waiting period before the license is issued, so most couples will not be able to marry right away unless a judge grants them a waiver. And according to Governor Mitt Romney, only couples living in Massachusetts or planning to move to the state in the immediate future are eligible to be married. Well, new allegations in the growing Iraqi prisoner abuse scandal now claims that Secretary of Defense Donald Rumsfeld okayed the use of unconventional questioning methods. Scott Rappaport has the latest.
There was more finger-pointing Sunday for the abuses inside Iraq's Abu Ghraib prison. Seymour Hersh of The New Yorker magazine says Secretary of Defense Donald Rumsfeld approved of a secret operation that allowed for aggressive interrogation at the prison, including physical coercion and sexual humiliation.
I'm not saying Rumsfeld authorized what we saw in the last few weeks, but he did authorize these guys to come into the prison system and jack it up, get better stuff.
The Pentagon denies the existence of a secret operation and says the New Yorker magazine story has no credibility. But congressional critics say the Bush administration may have equated Iraqi prisoners with terrorists and treated them as such.
There's the sort of the morphing of the rules of treatment. We can treat Al-Qaeda this way, and we can't treat prisoners captured this way, but where do insurgents fit, etc. This is a dangerous slope.
Secretary of State Colin Powell offered more apologies for the abuse while he was in Jordan over the weekend. But Powell says he was deeply disappointed at the lack of reaction from Mideast leaders to the beheading of U.S. civilian Nick Berg.
There ought to be outrage. There is anger in the Arab world about some of our actions, but that is no excuse for any silence on the part of any Arab leader for this kind of murder.
This as the controversy here at home over the beheading and abuse has reached full volume. Scott Rappaport, Channel 6 News.
There was an embarrassing moment on national TV for a press aide to Colin Powell as she tried to halt the taping of that interview.
I think that was one of your staff, Mr. Secretary. I don't think that's appropriate.
Emily, get out of the way. Bring the camera back, please.
As Meet the Press host Timothy Russert asked a last question, the camera had suddenly moved off Powell and a woman's voice was heard. Powell scolded the aide and finished answering the question. Russert thanked him for not allowing the aide to stop the interview and later aired that taped portion unedited.
It now appears that
A South Glens Falls family who lost a son to the war in Iraq wants to make sure the area does not forget the hundreds of soldiers still serving. The family of Private First Class Nathan Brown wants the community to keep writing letters to be mailed overseas. In fact, according to the Post-Star, the town of Moreau is setting up a special drop box at Town Hall to make sure those letters get to the troops. A Watervliet police officer gets a hero's send-off as he prepares to go to Iraq. Patrolman Henry Battige is part of a New York National Guard unit that will be activated later this month. Battige has been part of the Guard for 20 years, so he's used to deployments. He says his biggest concern is the welfare of his family while he's gone, but the community seems to have that under control.
And anybody that I've told that I am being deployed, the first things out of their mouth is, if there's anything that your wife or kids need, call me.
I'm nervous because of the unknown, but I have great faith in him, so I know he'll do what he's got to do.
Batige's unit leaves May 24th. The 22-year-old who fell over a cliff at Thacher Park is in stable condition at this hour. 22-year-old Jason Sherwin of Latham was walking with his girlfriend yesterday afternoon when he fell 120 feet off the escarpment. After nearly 4 hours of trying, rescuers were finally able to bring Sherwin up to safety. He was conscious when he was airlifted to Albany Med. Now, the name Jason Sherwin may sound familiar to you. Sherwin was a well-known athlete during his years at Shaker High School. He was one of the best quarterbacks in the Suburban Council and was voted overall Player of the Year by the Times-Union in 1999. Sherwin is also the son of former New York Giant Tim Sherwin. And we have more details on a story we've been watching out of Schenectady tonight. Police say 2 accidents last night were caused by the same drunk driver. Now he's under arrest. Between 8 and 9 last night, police say the man was driving without headlights southbound in the northbound lane of Route 40. Troopers tell us he damaged some property in the village of Schenectady and kept right on going. Then a few minutes later, that driver got into a head-on collision with another car on Main Street, sending 3 people to the hospital. So far, police are not releasing the names of anyone involved. And in Washington County, emergency workers got a little hands-on help from eyewitnesses after an accident in Greenwich. Investigators on the scene tell us a family's minivan was hit by a cattle truck on Route 77. 2 women in the car were able to get out on their own, and they, plus several people living in the area, pulled the back seats out of the van so rescuers could reach a man still trapped inside. The man was airlifted to Albany Med. No word on his condition. 2,700 more people living in the capital region will be looking for jobs come Monday morning. Meet UAlbany's class of 2004. Today's ceremonies granted degrees to some 1,800 undergrad students, 860 master's candidates, and 100 doctoral candidates. The school's interim president, John Ryan, gave the commencement address. It's been 5 years since 2 students caused the deadliest school shooting in history. Now, for the first time, the parents of one of them are speaking out. Coming up, you'll hear why they say they don't want to be forgiven. Plus, the Pope has created 6 new saints, but we'll tell you why not everyone agrees all are deserving of the honor. Next.
You're watching Channel 6 News, live with Beth Wenger. This is Channel 6 News at 6:30.
A group of professional fishermen came to the rescue of 24 people in a sinking boat in San Francisco. The recreational fishing boat started taking on water off Ocean Beach. Passengers and crew were grabbed to safety by a fishing vessel and taken to Sausalito. 1 man died, apparently from a heart attack. Most of the others suffered just hypothermia. The Colorado Bridge, whose girder collapsed, shearing an SUV and killing 3, is now reopened. Interstate 70 west of Denver is open in both directions tonight after the 40-ton steel girder was taken away. Temporary braces that were holding it in place gave way yesterday. Engineers are still looking into why the girder fell in the first place. In the first time they've spoken out since the Columbine High School massacre, the parents of one of the shooters say they feel no need for forgiveness and didn't know their son was beyond help until his death. Tom and Susan Klebold broke their silence speaking to the New York Times. Dylan Klebold's mother says his upbringing did not cause his actions, but she admits they missed signs he was disturbed. The Pope has created 6 new saints, including an Italian woman who has become an icon of the anti-abortion movement. She saved her unborn child at the cost of her own life. But critics say her canonization means the Roman Catholic Church values the life of an unborn child over that of a woman. Moving on to weather, today turned out rather nicely.
It sure did. Lots of sunshine, and as we head back to work, I think more sunshine's on the way. But the work week, although not terrible, will certainly feature its chance for showers and thunderstorms. We'll come back and tell you all about that in the Instant Doppler 6 forecast next.
Instant Doppler 6 is sponsored by First Niagara Bank. Our first priority is you.
Now, your Instant Doppler 6 forecast with meteorologist Mike Augustyniak.
I believe it's another week or so before many of the camps open up on the Great Sacandaga Lake. So if you haven't been up there yet this year, Paul Barbarulo has. He's our weather watcher from Scotia. Took a trip up to the lake today and sent in this nice shot via the WeatherNet 6 website at WRGB.com. The water looking relatively calm right now as the winds were relatively light today. And you can see the sunshine that broke out across the region mixing with those clouds. Through the night tonight, skies will be on the clearing side of mode, I should say, the clearing mode, and we'll look for a lot of sunshine coming up again tomorrow. A little bit cooler today, though, behind that front that went through and brought us the thunderstorms and downpours yesterday. Up on the lake, as a matter of fact, it brought Albany only 63 degrees. Another chilly spot is Worcester in Otsego County. They're 61. But it's 70 in Scotia. Stillwater's at 67 degrees. West Rutland, Vermont at 68. In the Berkshires at Lanesboro, Mass, it's 65. And we've got 70s from Kingston, where it's 73, back towards Sharon, Connecticut, where it's 71. West Conesville checking in with 66. Albany officially today got up to 71 degrees. That's pretty much right on target for the high temperature. It was a little bit warmer last night than normal. Normal low is 47. We got down to 54. And just 1/100th of an inch of rain in the gauge at the airport after midnight last night. After that, it was a dry day, and we continue to see dry weather to last right through the evening, so there are absolutely no weather problems for outdoor plans this evening. 70 is where the temperature stands at 6 at Albany. The dew point, though, is the big story. It's down to 54 now, which is a big change from where it was this time yesterday. Last evening, we were dealing with dew points right around 65, which is very humid, but now dew points have fallen off below 55, which is what's making it feel so comfortable out there. All the humidity is still locked up off to the south through the Virginias and into the Carolinas. We've got high pressure building in from Canada, which is why we've got a bit of a cooler air mass coming in. And it looks like we'll hold on to the cooler air mass for tomorrow with that sunshine. The clouds developing off to our west are about a day and a half to 2 days away. This front and the moisture with it will eventually come in, but not until we get through a nice start of the work week with lots of sunshine. There's that moisture gathering, rain and thunderstorms for the Dakotas and southern Minnesota, and that will be in here, I think, by Tuesday afternoon. But we're looking at clear skies for tonight. A somewhat chilly night, 49 for the overnight low with some patchy fog and nearly calm winds. Looks like a low to mid-40s for the North Country. Johnstown and Glens Falls, 46 for tonight in Bennington. 49 at Pittsfield. Looks like Amsterdam gets down to 49, as does Troy. Hudson right around 50 degrees, and Oneonta gets down to 47 with that patchy fog for tonight. Tomorrow, about 75, mostly sunny skies. Looks like a top 10 springtime day with light winds and low humidity. Temperatures a little bit cooler in the southern Vermont Berkshire region. Looks like 68 for Bennington, 70 for Pittsfield, but mid-70s for Hudson and Kingston. And it looks like low to mid-70s for the western Adirondacks and into the Mohawk Valley. Here's the next 7 days. Again, a few chances for showers in here. Best chance, I think, will be Tuesday. Showers and storms then with a slightly higher amount of humidity and temperatures up into the upper 70s. Wednesday looks nice, though. Then we go back over to showers and storms for Thursday with temperatures in the upper 70s once again. Friday, the slight chance for a shower, but I think the end of the work week looks generally dry and a little bit of a question for Saturday and Sunday. There'll be a front in the region, and it looks like the chance, at least, for scattered showers and storms both days.
In 6 on Health tonight, some promising news in the treatment of AIDS. Bristol Myers Squibb says it's in talks to develop a once-daily fixed-dose combination of 3 anti-HIV drugs. This comes after the Secretary of Health and Human Services asked pharmaceutical companies to provide better treatment options for people suffering from HIV in developing countries. A new study says there may be a link between kids who have asthma and kids who have ear infections. The study out of the University of Illinois at Chicago says kids who had ear infections throughout their childhoods are more likely to be diagnosed with asthma later in life. In fact, those children are twice as likely to develop asthma as kids with no history of ear infections. So why does it happen? Well, researchers aren't sure, but one theory is that antibiotics used to treat infections may increase the risk of asthma. For more information on these and other 6 on Health stories, go to WRGB.com and click on Health. Coming up in sports, it was a big day. We'll see how the Mets fared against a former Yankee for the 2nd day in a row. Plus, the Great Danes with a great challenge on the turf. We'll see if they could turn the tide the second time around. Tim Mack is on deck.
Now, Channel 6 Sports with Tim Mack.
Welcome back. The last time the UAlbany lacrosse team traveled to Syracuse, they left with a loss to one of the top programs in the nation. Today, the Danes were back on the turf of the Carrier Dome, this time playing in the orange in the NCAA tournament. Michael Powell burned him last time and burned him again today, one zip orange. But then America East Rookie of the Year, Merrick Thompson, got in the act. Excuse me. He scored and it was 2-1 Danes early, then right before the half. We got Thompson again. He had 6 goals in the afternoon. Whew, not a bad afternoon at all, but after that, the orange got red hot. Ryan Nee scored with 5 seconds left in the half, and the third quarter was a true orange crush. Steve Alone and Syracuse scored 7 unanswered goals, and it was more firepower than the Danes could muster. A valiant effort, but once again, Syracuse gets the better of Albany, ending the Danes' season.
When they put 1, 2, 3 in, you're like, I get a timeout, I'm going to try to regroup, but then they come right back out and win the next 3 face-offs. And, it's tough to regroup from. I thought our kids did a nice job of responding after that, but, they put a 6 or 7 goal margin in between us, and it's tough to come back from.
The Yanks taking on the Mariners this afternoon at sun-drenched Yankee Stadium. Kevin Brown is now off to his best start in 14 seasons. He held Seattle to 1 run on 8 hits over 7 2/3. Did get himself into trouble once, and it cost him. Scott Spezio has been causing headaches all weekend, and he got the Yankee lead to 1 run with a solo shot off of Brown. But not to worry, the Yanks did what they usually do in tight ball games. They gave the ball to Mariano Rivera, and he closed it down for his 14th save of the year. New York tops Seattle 2-1. The Red Sox and Blue Jays had themselves a pitching duel today north of the border. Pedro Martinez against Roy Halladay, but it was the Toronto pitcher who got the best of this one. Halladay allowed 1 run while striking out 6 on his way to the win, 3-1. Yesterday, the Mets got beat by former Yankee Andy Pettitte and his new team, the Astros. Today, the Mets got beat up by former Yankee Roger Clemens and his new team, that very same Astros team. And New York had no chance against the former Bomber. Nobody could get around on his stuff, not the way he was throwing. So instead, the Mets, they did a very smart thing. They waited until Clemens left the game, scored 2 runs, forced extra innings, and won it on a Jason Phillips home run in the 13th. Just the way Art Howe drew it up. Most impressive. High school baseball, the finals of the Uncle Sam tournament at Joe Bruno Stadium. The LaSalle Cadets taking on Kareem Jones and Lansingburg in the championship game. Lansingburg led it 6-1 in the 5th when LaSalle put a rally together. Matt Boudreau with the plate. He sends one to the gap in left field. 2 runners come around. Cadets back in it. That made it 6-5. Well, they would make it 6-5. Freshman pitcher, though, Dave Bechelder held off the late charge, and Lansingburg hangs on. They win the Uncle Sam tournaments. The Albany Conquest are finally back on track following last night's come-from-behind win in Louisville. The AF2 team saw their former Firebirds head coach Rick Buffington make his debut on the bench against the Fire, and it was a winning debut. The team has hitched its wagon to Dee Bryant at quarterback, and it has been the right move. Bryant rallied the team to a 60-56 victory. They are now 2-4 in the year, 2 straight wins for them. Conquest host Macon next Saturday at the Pepsi Arena. The New Jersey Nets can finish off the Pistons tonight in East Rutherford. They went up 3-2 on Detroit thanks to a win in a triple overtime classic in Auburn Hills on Friday. There will be a new champion in the NBA this year. The Lakers made sure of that, eliminating the defending champs last night at home. Los Angeles rolled into the Western Conference Finals by beating San Antonio 88-76, eliminating the Spurs in 6 games. In the NBA playoffs today, Sacramento beat Minnesota in the USBL. The Wildcats lost at home. They are now 8-6. All right, let's see if we can roll over to Nextel Cup circuit. They were racing last night under the lights for the Chevy American Revolution 400. And it was Dale Earnhardt Jr. outrunning Jimmy Johnson and Bobby Labonte for his 3rd victory of the season. Tony Stewart was 4th, giving Chevy the top 4 spots. And as you may have just seen here minutes ago on WRGB Channel 6, Sergio Garcia won the Byron Nelson Classic in the three-way playoff.
Looked like he brought his own smoke machine, like in the productions, like, you know, Phantom of the Opera or
yes,
something.
they always get out the dry ice for the end of those big races. It's part of the production value.
It's akin to celebrating in the end zone in a football game.
Exactly, like an arena ball, exactly.
Well, I think we'll all be celebrating a little bit, at least, well, maybe not for heading back to work, but the weather at least will be conducive to outdoor activities for both tonight and the last right through your Monday. Temperatures this evening shape up like this: 70 at Albany, 69 at Glens Falls. It's in the mid-60s in the Berkshires and mid-70s in the lower Hudson Valley. It looks like temperatures fall back to about 60 or so here in Albany by 9 o'clock and into the upper 50s in some of the cooler outlying areas. It will be a chilly night tonight, but with lots of sunshine tomorrow. We're talking about mid-70s and low humidity once again, and then another chance for showers and storms by Tuesday.
Pretty much what you'd expect for May, I would imagine.
Yeah, a little bit changeable. Certainly not as humid as last week, but you're right. Very typical to get these types of swings in May.
All right. Thank you, Mike and Tim. That's it for us tonight. We thank you for joining us. We'll see you again at 11. Have a great night.